Alright guys, hello. So this point in this video is to get you used to some skills on your calculator and how to do some things on your calculator that you're going to need to know for the AP test. There are four important skills for the AP test that you need to be able to do on your calculator besides basic arithmetic, and I'm going to go over all four in this video. Okay, the first thing is integrals, because you might look at something and say, how do I do a super challenging integral, like the integral from 0 to 1.5 of e to the power of sine of x cubed. Now, hopefully it's obvious by looking at this, but like a U sub is just not going to cut it on this, right? It's way too complicated. There's way too much going on. Um, but this is something your calculator can do very, very quickly. So let's start with a simpler example first. Let's do one that we know how to do so that we can see how to type it in our calculator and make sure our calculator is working properly. So what if I ask you to do the integral 0 to 1 of x squared dx? Now, by the way, most of your calculators can only do definite integrals and not indefinite integrals. Okay, so first off, let's go ahead and try this. So the way you do an integral, you're going to go to the math menu right here. So you're going to hit this button. And notice how it's just putting all my buttons over here on the side. And then you're going to go all the way down, I think, to number 9. This is pretty laggy. Okay, so there's number 9, and then hit enter. And it's going to bring this up on the main screen. Now, some of you guys, it's just going to come up a little different. And I'll show you that in a minute. But if it just comes up an integral like this, you're just going to type these things in. So you're going to type in, okay, I'm going from 0, and then I'll hit the arrow to go over, and then it'll go to the upper bound, and I'll go to 1, and then I'll go down, and I'll just type in, okay, I'm integrating x squared, and then the way you have this on your calculator, what the variable is, you're going to hit an x. Okay, and that's just telling you, okay, the variable is x, we're integrating with respect to x. Now, we know that this should be x cubed over 3 going from 0 to 1, so we should get a 1/3. All right, and when we want to do the integral, we'll just go ahead and hit enter, and it'll show up like that. Okay, I'll be back in a sec with the other version. Okay, now if you don't have one of those rich kid calculators, when you hit Math 9, this is what shows up, FNInt, function integrator. Don't worry, your calculator can do all the same integrals this way. So what you'll do in this case is you're going to do function integrator, and then you're going to type in what the function is, and then whatever the variable is, and then you're going to type in your lower bound, and then you're going to type in the upper bound. Okay, so if I want to integrate x squared, I'm just going to go x squared, and then I do a comma right there. It's right next to the parentheses, and then comma x, and then I type in the bounds from 0 to 1, and we'll see that this calculator in this version, of course, also gives me 1/3. Great. Okay, so that's the basics of integrals. Let's go ahead and do this next one. So go ahead and we're going to do the example I led with, so 0, 1.5 of e to the sine of x cubed. Okay, so I'm going to do a minute. I'm going to give you a minute. Go ahead and pause this right now. Try it on your own using the skills we just learned, and then see if you can get the right answer. Okay, so hopefully you tried this on your own. The way you're going to do this here, you type in the function. So let's be clear about parentheses, right? Because you have a bunch in the exponent, you're probably going to want to make sure that sine of x cubed is in parentheses. If you get some kind of syntax error, usually it's because you don't have parentheses in the wrong parts, or you have too many parentheses at the end, or you have not enough. So if it gives you an error, let me see if I can give you an example of that. So if you do e to the power of sine of x to the 3rd power. Okay, now, if you do this, you need one parentheses to close the x cubed, one parentheses to close the exponent. Okay, now, so we're going, x is going from 0 to 1.5 from my upper bound, and that's what it should look like. Okay, so this is the correct one. And that, by the way, is the correct answer. So you should get 2.376. Okay, I wanted to mention two things about your answers first off, and these are important for the AP test. These are both key. First off, your answers need 3 or more decimal places. It's not like a significant figures thing. Whatever you have before doesn't matter. You just need at least 3 numbers after the decimal. You can always write more. It's never a bad idea to just go on and write a couple extra. But if you don't have at least 3, you will be marked wrong. Second off, and this is key, you are always going to be in radian mode. So if you got a different answer, obviously you might have typed this in wrong, but you might go to mode and you might see you have degrees selected there. Degrees are for chumps. You don't want that to be you. You want to make sure you're in radian mode. Okay, so let's second quit back out. I wanted to show you, if you want to bring back what you just typed in, you can hit second enter, and it'll bring back what you had. So let's say you were a chump as well, and you accidentally put one more parentheses right here. Then what it's going to do when you try and enter, it just says you have a syntax error. So when this error pops up, it just means it's probably a parentheses problem. It kind of pointed to these parentheses, so maybe you just try deleting one, try adding one, something like that, and you'll be able to fix it. So that's kind of some troubleshooting you can do. Okay, let's talk about some other things you can do on your calculator. One was integrals. The second one is you can do a derivative. And again, it won't give you a derivative in terms of x, but you can do a derivative at a point. So if you have the function, say f of x equals cosine of x cubed divided by x squared minus 1, and I ask you to find f prime of 2. Okay. Now, you could do this yourself, right? You could do the quotient rule, you could do the chain rule. It would be a disaster. It would be a lot faster if you just type this in your calculator. So again, we'll go to math, and you're going to go down to number 8, and that option is NDeriv, finds a numerical derivative. Now, when you type this in your calculator, and this you don't write this on the AP test. On the AP test, you're just going to write f prime of 2 equals, and then the answer we're going to get in a sec. But on your calculator, you're going to type in NDeriv, you type in the function, x, and then just the value that you want to take the derivative at. So we're taking the derivative here of, okay, let's see, the cosine of x cubed in parentheses, put the x squared minus 1 in parentheses too. That's another one. So I'm going to do, okay, cosine of x to the third power. You actually don't need parentheses around that because it's one term, but you absolutely need parentheses around the x squared minus 1. Okay, so you're going to close that out. And then you're going to take that with respect to x, and you're taking that derivative just at 2, and your calculator will find this instantaneously and just tell you that this f prime equals negative 3.8926. Okay, great. So that's how you take derivatives at a point. One thing also, I should talk about this. When you have 3 decimals here, you can either round or truncate. Truncate just means cut off. So if you want to round this up to be negative 3.893, that's fine. If you just want to say, okay, I'm at 3 decimals, I'm just going to cut it off and get negative 3.892, that's fine. Both of those answers will be acceptable on the AP test, and they'll both be acceptable on all my tests as well. Okay, so that's how you take derivatives at a point as well. Next up, let's go to solving equations. This is another useful skill that we're going to do quite a bit in this chapter. So solving equations. Okay, and the way you're going to solve an equation is like this. And there are a couple different ways. So basically, you're going to find the x values that solve this equation. Sine of x cubed equals x squared minus 1. Okay, now the way you're going to solve equation, I mean, some of you might want to use the solver if you want. The way that makes the most sense to me, because I like seeing things visually, is to graph both of these. So I'm going to graph both at the same time. So what I'll do is I'll graph the left side as y1, and I'm going to graph the right side as y2. So let's go ahead and go to our y equals menu and type that in. So I'm going to graph sine of x to the third power, okay? And then I'm going to graph in y2 x squared minus 1. Okay, now I'll go ahead and just graph those, and that looks like that. Okay, cool. It might be helpful for me to zoom in a little bit, so I might try and zoom in just on the origin, see if I can see a little better. And what we see is we see 2 intersections. Your calculator might graph a little slower than mine. My computer's a lot faster. So we have 2 intersections. One is there and one is here. The way you're going to find these intersections then, and again, you're not going to write anything down on the AP test. You're going to write exactly what x equals. The way you're going to find these intersections here and here, we'll just do one at a time. So I'm going to go to second calc. So second trace brings up the blue calc menu. Go down to number 5 for intersect. So I'm going to hit intersect. It's going to ask me to pick the first curve and the second curve. I've only graphed 2 functions. So I just enter to pick the other one, enter to hit the first one, and then enter again to pick the second one. Now it's going to tell me guess. So the guess is just saying like, okay, you have 2 different intersections, or more than 2. So just get close to one, and we'll find the one closest to that. So just arrow over with the left key until you're kind of close to it. You don't have to be perfect, and then just go ahead and hit enter. Okay, and then it'll give you the intersection. And the intersection is just the x coordinate. it tells you basically this is what f of both the functions are. So both sides of the equation equal that negative 0.423 thing. But the x value there is negative 0.759. Okay, as for the second one, we'll do this again. So we'll go to second calc again. We'll go down to intersect. We'll hit the first curve and the second curve, just enter, enter. But now for my guess, I just have to arrow, oh no, I just have to arrow over closer until I get over towards here. Notice how this app shows you what buttons I hit? That's kind of cool. So I'll hit enter here again, and it's going to show me that intersection is 1.3205. Okay, so those are my two intersections here. The last problem that I wanted to share with you today was another calculator skill that's similar to this. Find the zeros of y equals sine of x cubed on the interval from 0.5 to 2. Okay, and this is going to look a little different on most of your calculators than the last one. So when you say find a zero, remember a zero, that's when y equals 0. So that's when sine of x cubed equals 0. Another thing you could do, like if you want, you could just do the y1 and the y2 again and find the intersections. But another thing you could do is you could just like graph this. So just graph y equals sine of x cubed, and then just find the zeros of that. Okay, and I'm going to walk through that here. So I'm just going to go ahead and graph that function, sine of x cubed. So I'll just get rid of the other one. Now, it's set on 0.5 to 2. So what you're going to do when you just have an interval like this is you're just going to adjust the window. Adjust the window to be, that's like the x values from 0.5 to 2. So go ahead and hit the window. And the window is great. It just lets you say, what are the x values you want to see? What are the y values you want to see? So if I just want to go from 0.5 to 2, and then my y values, we just keep it like that for now, but you can change those later. And it'll just show you that part. One thing I want to show you, if you give you something that's not valid, like if you say, oh, I want to see what's going on from 3 to 2, the calculator won't graph. It'll say there's a window range. And that error just means like you have some problem in your window settings. Like here, your min is bigger than your max. That doesn't make sense. So anyway, let's go to 0.5 and graph that. All right, so we see two zeros. We have one around here and then one around here closer to 2. So when you want to find those, you're going to go again to the second calc 0 to go ahead and find that. So second calc, oh, that's not what I wanted to do. I have screwed up. Okay, I think I had alpha instead. I'll just clear this. Okay, so I'll go second calc and then down to 0. Okay, so 0 just says now, okay, give the left bound and the right bound. So what they want you to do is just give like 1 point to the left of your 0 and 1 point to the right. So if this is the 0 I'm looking at, you give your calculator 1 point on the left, 1 point to the right of it, your calculator will magically find out where's the 0 in the middle. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. So I'll do left bound and then right bound. Okay, so I'll just hit enter. It's going to tell me to guess again or whatever. Just hit enter again. And there it gives me the 0. So it tells me the first one there is 1.46459. Great. This y value, this is 1 times 10 to the negative 13th. That's like really close to 0. Your calculator tried its best to get exactly 0. Trust me, it's fine. Now, when I want to find the second 0, I just repeat this process. So I'll go second calc 0 again. So I'll just go ahead and scroll over here. Again, I just need to go 1 point to the left of it. So there I'm in the left. I'll hit enter. And then I'm going to go 1 point to the right of it. That's the right bound. So once to the left, once to the right. I'll hit enter again. And my magic calculator will give me the 0 right in the middle. X equals 1.84527. Okay, so those are all the skills you're going to need for this class. And of course, we'll talk about how to apply them along the way. But those are the skills we need to know how to do on our calculator. Definite integrals, the derivative at a point, the idea of how to solve an equation, depending on, either you're doing second calc intersect or second calc 0, depending on whether one side is 0 or not. And then the other thing is just to pick a window, so graph in a certain window. Like sometimes they're going to ask you, graph the window from x equals 0 to x equals 1,000. So you just go to your window and you say, okay, I'm going to go from 0 to 1,000. And then maybe you have to change the y coordinates as well. But those are the only things they're going to ask on the AP test. Those are the 4 things. Make sure you know how to do those. And if you don't, bring me some questions in class tomorrow and look stuff up on your own. And I'll see you guys soon. Thanks for watching.